In 1995, just shy of our second anniversary, Andrew and I get Slick. Slick is a 7-week-old black lab mix with big brown eyes and a freckle on his tongue, and he very quickly becomes our practice baby. We do all the things parents are supposed to do, only we do it with a dog. We take him to the vet to get vaccinated on a regular schedule. We take him to the park for play dates and socialization, and we teach him to behave as he should. We take him to obedience school, and it works out great. Slick is such a good boy. The only thing is, he is, as they say, a food-motivated dog. So if you turn your back, he will steal your sandwich. And he begs at the table nonstop, but the truth is that's kind of our fault because we feed him off the table because we feel sorry for him. Like if all you ever gave me was a bowl full of kibble and you were eating pizza, I would beg too. But he's a very good boy. And eventually we have real children, Emily and Jonah, and he is just the companion for them that you would want. He is sweet and docile and gentle. He lets them pat his head just a little too hard and hug him just a little too tightly. We joke that if the children wanted to play vet and like take his temperature, he would let them do that too. He's that good to them. And time passes and they learn to share the responsibility and feed the dog, and everybody grows up just a little bit, and we go from being people with a puppy and no kids to people with kids and a dog. Time continues to pass and Slick gets old. And when he's 9, Slick goes blind overnight. This is a thing, you can Google this, it can happen to dogs. And now we are people with kids and a blind dog. And for the kids, this is just sort of a novelty, like play dates come over and they go, this is Slick, he's blind. Okay. And when Slick is 10, after all these years of perfect, impeccable housebreaking, he starts peeing in the house. And something's up, so we take him to the vet and we find out that Slick has diabetes. And we learn to administer insulin to the dog, and now we are people with kids and an old, blind, diabetic dog. And Andrew and I talk a lot because we believe without hesitation that it is a kindness to end our pet's suffering. But we really cannot quite figure out in this situation who is suffering. Is it Slick or is it us? And is it time? And how will we know when it's time? And these conversations are sort of endless. The summer Slick is 12. Emily is away at camp. Jonah is 6 and he's home with us. And we have decided by this point that we'll know when Slick's time has come. It will be the day he turns his nose up at human food. And one day this summer, I'm out in the backyard with Jonah, and Andrew comes to get me. Slick has again peed in the house, only this time he is lying on his side in this puddle of urine. He is panting. Things are not good. And Andrew gets Slick cleaned up and takes care of the mess, and I go up to the kitchen and I cook some rice and some ground turkey, and I put it in a bowl in front of Slick, and he turns his face away. And we know this is the day. So we give Jonah to the neighbor, and we carry our beloved Slick out to the car, and we go to the vet, and we do what must be done, and it is calm and peaceful and painless and serene for Slick and agonizing for us. and then it's over. And we come home, and that night at bath time, we tell Jonah what has happened, and Jonah bursts into tears, and we console him. And that night at bedtime, we talk about Emily. She's gonna be away at camp for another month. And Andrew says, Andrew's a 5th grade teacher, and as such, he is our in-house child development expert. And he says, we're not gonna tell Emily. What's she gonna do about it anyway? She's at camp, she'll just be upset without us there. We'll tell her when she comes home. And I defer because he knows. So a month later, it's the day we're gonna go to where the camp bus comes home. And we get in the minivan and we put Jonah on his booster seat in the back. And Andrew and I are whispering to each other in the front seat because we've got to tell Emily, right? And we make a plan. We're going to take her out for lunch, and we're going to go for a walk in the park. And when the moment is right, like in some clearing with sunbeams and stuff, we're going to tell her dog is dead. And I agree to this plan because it makes a lot of sense. And I say, but we've got to tell Jonah so he doesn't spill the beans. And Andrew says, no. My in-house child development expert says to me, don't tell Jonah. He's 6 and this was a month ago. It's not that he's forgotten about it, but it's not top of mind. And if we tell him, it's just going to surface it. And I push back. And I'm like, no, we really cannot run the risk of Jonah blurting this out. And I argue with my child development expert, who eventually defers. So we decide we're going to tell Jonah. And I'm like, Jonah, listen, remember, Emily doesn't know about Slick. And we need to count on you to be part of the team. Because we're going to go out for lunch and we're going to go for a walk in the park and the sunbeams and the angels. And Jonah is clearly chuffed to be included in this grown-up plan. And his exact words don't really matter, but they boil down to you can count on me. So we get to the parking lot and the camp bus, and we get our girl, and there are hugs, and we're carrying her duffel bag, and we're carrying her tennis racket, and we get back to the we're in a minivan at this point, and I'm on this side helping Jonah with his buckle, and Andrew's on this side helping Emily with her buckle, and Jonah looks at Emily, and 5 words come out of his mouth with the most extreme nonchalance. He looks at his sister and says, sad news, Emily, Slick died. Just like that. And Emily looks at us and we kind of go yeah. And she bursts into tears and there's much crying and clearly there's no restaurant, no park, no sunbeam, no angels. And that day I learned 2 things. 1, I learned do not argue with the in-house child development. 2, do not trust a 6-year-old with a secret. But no, they just lie. And the 3rd thing I learned that day, though, there was a 3rd thing, because Slick was always teaching us something. 3 years later, Stevie came to live with us. The day he came, he was a little white fluff ball. He's since grown, he's a good-sized dog. But Stevie is now 15. 15 is very old for a dog. He has had 2 knee replacements. I know, his hind legs sometimes get a little tired. But really, the only thing Stevie wants from us is a little pat on the head and maybe a bite of whatever we're eating. And we give it to him because we know now that our days with him are numbered. But we know that just like his brother Slick before him, Stevie is a very good boy. Thank you.